All right, let's dive in. No holding back. Picture this. I drive up to my grandpa's old cabin, a 1943 hand-built fortress standing smack in the middle of what used to be 47 wild acres, my family's land. I slam on the brakes, just stunned. Everywhere I look, there's a sea of sparkling new houses, rows of white picket fences gleaming like some kind of developer's fever dream, kids weaving through the street on bikes, a damn community pool right where Grandpa's workshop once stood. Folks grilling burgers on what should be my land, acting like they've finally arrived at the American dream. And then, like some scene out of a bad reality show, this blonde HOA Karen screeches up in a white Escalade, windows down, sunglasses flashing, and barks at me, "Your shack violates every rule in the book." I barely have time to answer before she's waving papers at me, her voice echoing down what used to be my driveway. "Trespassing on common area. Fix it to code, or we condemn it in 30 days. She's talking about the only thing my family's owned for over 80 years. My grandfather's cabin. I've got the original deed sitting in my truck, but she wants me to grovel to beg for permits like I'm the trespasser. Most folks would have whipped out that deed and started a screaming match, but not me. I just smiled, kept that deed tucked away, and waited. Sometimes patience is more powerful than a sledgehammer. So I watched her collect those fees, fire violations, landscape complaints, acting like she owned everything right up until the day she dragged me into court. That's when I finally showed my card, sliding Grandpa's deed across to the judge. You should have seen her face. It was like someone set off a firecracker in her brain. Pure nuclear meltdown. Wild doesn't even cover it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name's Ezra Whitfield, third-generation carpenter, second-generation stubborn, and apparently the first generation to battle an HOA that would make Grandpa roll over in his grave. Back in '43, Grandpa Tobias bought those 47 acres with every dollar he'd sweated out, splitting logs, hauling timber through Tennessee mud that could swallow a mule whole. Every plank in that cabin cut and nailed by hands that knew honest work, hands that believed you build things to last generations, not just until the next HOA meeting. The smell of sawdust, motor oil, and whatever was left of his Lucky Strikes used to fill that workshop until some genius decided the community needed a pool with a water slide right there instead. I inherited the spread after his funeral. Work and grief kept me away more than I'd like to admit. Funny how property taxes seemed so low those years, but when you're struggling to keep a business alive, you don't question good luck. First morning back hit me like a bucket of creek water in December. Coffee on the porch meant suburban kids splashing where I used to catch lightning bugs. No more woodpeckers or the sound of wind through pines, just the drone of air conditioners and lawnmowers. Even the air was off, no wild honeysuckle, just chemical lawn treatments and barbecue smoke. Then up that gravel drive comes the Escalade, Karen herself, looking like she's walking a red carpet, perfume and hairspray filling the air. She shoves a business card at me thick as a poker chip, Millbrook Estates HOA president and licensed real estate professional. She tells me my cabin built by Grandpa's hands is an unauthorized recreational vehicle. The nerve, right? She's reading violations off her clipboard like she's going for a world record. Non-conforming structure. Unauthorized occupancy, failure to submit architectural plans. 47 different violations for a cabin older than rock and roll. I tried to keep it civil. "Ma'am, my grandpa built this place in 1943. My family's owned this land for 80 years running." But she just smiles, all teeth and zero warmth. She claims the HOA bought everything back in '94 and tells me to call their lawyers if I don't like it. That's when alarm bells started ringing. No one spends millions developing land without checking the paperwork. Someone convinced her she was untouchable, but her confidence felt like an actor reading lines from a script she didn't believe. Every instinct told me to storm inside, flash that deed, and raise hell. But something, maybe Grandpa's old voice in my head, said, "Measure twice, cut once. Don't dig deeper when you're in a hole." I played it cool, promised to look into it. Big mistake, apparently. She started sending code enforcement and county trucks like I was a terrorist cell hiding in a cabin. The fines were laughable. Unpermitted electrical for changing a porch bulb, unauthorized well water from a hand-dug source older than she was. Improper modifications for nailing down a loose board. Each ticket meant court paperwork, time off my jobs. Death by 1,000 cuts meant to bleed me dry. But instead of fighting every ticket, I paid him. Documented everything. Every fine, every smile she gave the county officials. Because patience in construction is a weapon, wait long enough and your enemy will sharpen it for you. Paying those bogus fees made her bolder. Next came the letter, $2,400 in HOA dues, $1,800 in processing fees. If I didn't pay up in 30 days, they'd foreclose and evict me from my own land. Most folks would have gone ballistic. Me, I opened a new bank account and started paying every cent, every fine, every fee, not because I owed it, but because I was building a paper trail for court. Meanwhile, the harassment ramped up utility accidents that always seemed to cut my water, internet, or even mail. Chainsaws showed up at Sunrise HOA landscaping crews with equipment fit for a logging camp. Ancient oaks and maples came down along my property line. Each tree they cut wasn't just shade, it was a living boundary marker from Grandpa's original survey. Her crew was destroying evidence as fast as they were destroying my privacy. But what they revealed shook me worse. Behind the clubhouse, hidden until now, was a massive construction site, more houses, another pool, even a shopping complex, all being built on what should have been my land. That night, after Claudette showed up in her cocktail dress trying to buy me out for peanuts, $150,000 for a $3 million property, I realized I'd waited long enough. I couldn't sleep. So I went to the tool shed out back, still untouched. Under a tarp, I found Grandpa's old surveying kit, and more importantly, his original field notes and survey maps. Comparing them to the so-called corrective deed Claudette's crew filed in '94, the scam became clear. The deed transferring land to Millbrook Development was a forgery. Grandpa was in the hospital fighting pneumonia that entire month. He couldn't have signed anything. I started cross-referencing every survey, every marker, every acre. And here's the twist, even with the forged deed, 24 acres, including the clubhouse, the pool, and 76 houses still belonged to me. The HOA had collected millions in dues from families living on land that was never legally transferred. I documented everything, photographs, records, Grandpa's notes, even old easements for water and mineral rights. Then I called Harold Jameson, the old county surveyor who'd worked with Grandpa. He came out with his GPS equipment, found the original boundary stones, and confirmed every inch matched the 1943 survey. That's when I filed a quiet title lawsuit right before the annual HOA meeting, just as everyone gathered to talk community business. Harold and I showed up, boxes of evidence in hand, and in front of the whole neighborhood we laid out the proof. The crowd watched as Harold unearthed the concrete marker with Grandpa's initials, TWW 1943, right under the fountain by the clubhouse. When the sheriff saw the GPS coordinates match the records, he turned to Claudette and said, "Ma'am, if this is his land, you're the one trespassing." The place erupted. Neighbors started calculating how much they'd paid in bogus fees, and Claudette's face went from smug to pure terror. Within days, federal agents swooped in turns out. Claudette had run this scam across 3 counties. She cut a deal, return all the stolen land, pay restitution, and avoid prison, but she was done. Instead of kicking folks out, I worked with the county to sell the houses to their current residents at fair prices. The rest of the land went back to my family. We used the settlement money to start a community trust, scholarships for trade school, restoring the natural spring, even a monument to Grandpa's craftsmanship. The best revenge isn't just winning in court. It's turning a nightmare into something good. Here's the kicker. Our fight rewrote the law in Tennessee. Stricter property transfer rules, mandatory audits for HOA finances, real community oversight. My construction business took off. Folks trust a contractor who'll fight for what's right even when it costs. The land's still Whitfield land, but now it serves the whole community. Let me tell you, the biggest lesson wasn't about deeds or property lines. It was about patience, documentation, and the power of standing up for the truth. Sometimes the best way to win is let your enemy dig their own grave while you keep your head in your receipts. Now let me throw it to you. Ever had to deal with power-hungry board members, or watched as official paperwork steamrolled someone's rights? If this story hits home, or if you know anyone fighting an HOA battle, share your thoughts. Drop your story below. Where do you draw the line between authority and outright theft? Because sometimes justice takes its sweet time, but when it finally comes, it's worth every second of the wait.